Warning: the following episode of That Mental Ginger Show contains strong language and adult themes. On today's episode of That Mental Ginger Show, we are talking to Jacqui and Caroline from the Menopause Warriors Scotland podcast. This was a first for me for many things. It was a first time I actually interviewed two guests over Zoom. And it was also a first time that I broached a subject that's, I think, is still considered quite taboo in our society, and I don't think it should be. And of course, when it comes to me and taboo subjects, you know what I'm like. I ask all the inappropriate questions, but it is mainly because I'm very curious and I want to know about it. And Jack and Caroline were so sweet and they were so nice, and they not only embraced my madness, but the madness of my questions. And they're such lovely people. So please stick around for this episode. It's a great laugh. Let's cut to the intro.
All right, troops.
Ladies, this is the first time I can actually say on a Zoom call that I've had a three-way, and it's a good one.
Yeah, lucky boy.
I am indeed, yeah. Well, that's a bucket list right there. How are you getting on?
I've been wanting a toy boy, so I'm quite happy too there.
Well, in fairness, I am a toy boy. My wife is 5 years older than me. Well, it's great. I love it.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Glad to hear.
Well, the best part is, like, she looks younger than me as well. So I've hit like the jackpot. It's like old enough to know better, but young enough to get ID'd. It's pretty sweet.
You have won a watch.
I have indeed, and I know I have. I always say that I am whipped, and I'm okay with that.
Good on you.
Well, growing up ginger, most people either thought that I was either A, going to commit suicide by 30, or B, be gay. So this worked out in a great stance for me. I was very, very good. I was very lucky.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So enough about me and talking about all my mentalness and all my podcasts. Yes, we're here to talk about you lovely ladies and your starting journey into the mental podcasting game. So please tell us your origin story for my faithful followers.
Jacqui, would you like to start?
No, you start, Caroline. It's your journey first.
Well, Caroline, I'll ask you first, right? So where were you born? That's the kind of general one I start out with, and then we can pick up from there for origins.
Okay, I was born in the West End of Glasgow, the lovely posh area of Byers Road.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
I know.
But I no longer live there. I live in a small village now, so out in the countryside, which I actually do love, to be fair. It's great for walks and stuff like that compared to the city, but I do miss the West End. I do go up quite a lot for something to eat or a drink and catch up with old friends and cousins and things like that. So, and it's only like 20 minutes in the train, so it's great. It's good.
Yeah. I'm about, I was saying to Jacqui before we started, I'm Coatbridge, so I'm 20 minutes away from Glasgow as well. And my wife, she grew up on a farm. She spent her years on the dairy farm, so that was real proper country. That's the most intimidating. That's the most intimidating thing, meeting the potential in-laws, knowing that they have a license for a shotgun.
You're a brave young man, and you're still here. So there you go. That's
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, I solely put down the fact that her cousin was in a wheelchair and I could outrun him.
Oh, for God's sake.
Don't worry, Ian's perfectly okay with these jokes, because that's how we started. I remember I was absolutely terrified. Meeting their cousin, because I'd heard he had an accident with a tractor. Tractor tipped over on him and it sadly crushed his spine and his legs, and that was him. So I was like, what did I talk about with him? How did I start the subject? And it was the time that 2013, sorry, it was the Paralympics that was on. It was wheelchair basketball. And they were seeing it was the American team playing. And they had these nice like Captain America shields on their rims, and I was like, you ever thought about getting something like that, Donnie? And like a wee kind of pimp my ride kind of deal, in your wheelchair. So he just burst out laughing, and he was like, what do you think I should get? I was like, well, the Captain America shield looks quite nice. And then we started talking about Marvel and all that kind of comic stuff. So yeah, I was set. I was all right. What about yourself?
Great.
What about yourself, Jacqui? Where do you hail from?
I was brought up in Nitshill up to the age of 16.
Oh, wow.
And then I know, and then I now live in Cardonald, over south side of Glasgow. Stayed here 22 years now.
Wow. That's ironic because that's how long my wife spent on the farm, 22 years. That's spooky.
Wow.
That
Small
is
world.
spooky. So what got you into the to start out in the podcasting game?
Because we were going through the menopause at the time, and we were doing a support group and stuff like that, and we thought because we went into COVID, we went onto the Facebook, and now we were thinking, how's another good way to reach out to other ladies, you know, on the podcast. So we decided to give it a go. And we've only done, to be fair, we've only just done a second podcast the other day.
So for the listeners, what's the podcast called? Where can we find you? Sell, ladies, sell.
Go, Jacqui.
So it's Menopause Warriors Scotland podcast, and it's on Mixcloud under Sunny G 103. You'll find it there, or you can come on to our Menopause Warriors support group. If you are not sure, are you going through the menopause, or you are going through the menopause and you've still got questions and things like that, that everybody will help you on the group, because we all share our experiences, and it's a non-judgmental group, and it's really life-changing sometimes. So
well, that's what they do. I will try and make sure that my knowledge is correct on this, but it's called the change of life, isn't it? This is why I was really interested to get you ladies on, because I'm a fat middle-class white guy. I have no clue about this type of stuff. It's and I've really admitted I don't have a clue, but I always want to learn. Sometimes it means I ask like the really inappropriate questions, but people know it comes from a right place. And it's also because it's also because I know my wife will eventually go through the change, and I am absolutely terrified of what is going to come.
Well, the thing is, a lot of women, to be fair, Andrew, go through it no problem, but unfortunately 1 in 4 have quite a hard time with it. And that's the reason why we have the Facebook page and the podcast now, is because we want to try and not educate, that's the wrong word, to help as many women as we can, because the menopause can start at a very early age. So
what is the earliest age that can start?
Jacqui, you can answer that.
There was a girl at 14. So there's just to let you menopause is when you stop producing estrogen in your body and you start losing all the estrogen. Right. But if you have a hysterectomy, Andrew, you go straight into a menopause. Do you know what I mean? Because they take everything away. And on our group, we are shocked at the amount of 30 and 40-year-olds. And I think I was perimenopausal, maybe about 40. And it was misdiagnosed and things like that. So there's actually no age at all for menopause now, because it's more later on in life. But that what's coming through now is, I just don't think the data's been collected properly. And that's why we've got an older age group that it's associated with.
So what were the things that they misdiagnosed you with? What was it like? Was it like would they just say, oh, pardon my French, but it was like, oh, your period hasn't arrived, it'll be here maybe next month, or you could be pregnant, or it could be this, it could be that. Did you get what? Because it seems quite like sexist me saying it, but I'm just imagining what those type of people would say to you, and to me it would sound sexist. Does that make sense, or am I talking pish?
So no. So there's 3 stages of the menopause, right? So first of all, you go back, and a woman will go through puberty like men. Then they will hit childbirth, right, and go through all that, and then, but they keep the best one to last, the menopause. Okay, so there's 3 stages. You've got perimenopausal, you've got menopausal and you've got postmenopausal. That's roughly how it works. And you're perimenopausal, you're still having periods, but they could be quite erratic, but you could be having menopausal symptoms.
Yeah.
And then menopause is when your period stops, but you've got to not have had a period for a year and a day. And then postmenopausal is when you've not had a period for a year and a day. My first symptom, Andrew, was anxiety.
Yeah.
And what happens is there's a lot of women. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of women. Anxiety is the first symptom. They go to a doctor. What does the doctor do? Put them onto antidepressants. And antidepressants have a job to do, right?
Yeah.
But if you keep treating the antidepressants instead of the menopause, then that's where it's all going wrong.
Mm-hmm. So were you on antidepressants first before you got officially diagnosed?
No, I went to Caroline.
Right.
Because
perfect
I was
antidepressant
not
right there.
Yeah, you're right there. You're so right.
Did it? Trust me, Andrew, I didn't need it when I went. I was all over the place, right? All over the place. And
That's the biggest backhanded compliment ever. It's like, I didn't need it, but I went.
So I went down to Caroline because I was like, there's something no right, Caroline, and I just poured my heart out to her. And but I knew it wasn't. I don't mean it wasn't mental health. It was something else. It had brought the anxiety on, as opposed to I'd never had it all my life. It was only when I hit. Mine was a surgical menopause, but Caroline went through the menopause before me. I'll let her tell you about me coming down, but what happened to her.
Yeah, my menopause is totally different from Jacqui's because I went through a natural menopause, but mine started at 42.
Wow.
I wasn't really aware that's what it was, to be fair, because I was still getting periods, so I was in perimenopause. So I mean, your perimenopause can last for up to 5 or 6 years. It doesn't just happen, you know, overnight or within a year. It can go on for a good few years. But my first symptom of the menopause was rage. Now imagine that. Imagine thinking I was an angry wee old woman. The rage for me.
Well, I don't know which one would get me in the least trouble to say.
You're all right. You're on the other side.
I'll just keep my mouth shut and let you continue.
No, please don't, Andrew. No, I know I'm laughing, but to be honest with you, my rage was getting to the stage that I really seriously could have hurt someone. That's how bad my rage was. So for me, that's when I decided to go and visit the doctor. And even for you, I think you'll get a wee bit of a shock here. When I went to the doctors and spoke to them about it and explained what was going on, I had really low moods. I was feeling sad all the time. There's loads of symptoms out there, but those two were my main ones. And my answer that I got back from my doctor was, how old are you now, Caroline? And I said, oh, that's me, 45. And she went, oh, well, she said, you've got another 5 years to go and you'll be 50 and it's only going to get worse.
Oh, nice.
That's what that would show you.
That is brick to the face subtlety right there.
Yes, it certainly was. And I like that expression. I came out that day and I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know what to say. I was in such a shock. And when I went back to work, because I was working with Jacqui, and all I kept saying to Jacqui, she'll tell you, is, how dare she say I was turning 50 in 5 years' time?
I know. Oh, hours they went on for, Andrew. Hours.
Well, where were you working? What, before obviously you started doing the podcast? So what were your jobs?
We worked in Cardonal College.
All right. Were you lecturers or were you secretaries? Like, I'm not letting me in.
Don't worry. We lectured everybody all the time. Don't you worry, especially our poor boss, John.
All right. So you were secretaries then. I only say that because I'm admin clerical myself, which was always stereotyped as a quote unquote women's job, and I actually suffered quite a lot of sexism because of it. Like they're all going like, "Oh yeah, typical man. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that," and I'm like, hold on a minute. I'm doing the same job as you. Like I'm jumping your same hurdles. Why are you tripping me up?
But so we worked in there for quite a wee while, and Caroline was going through the menopause. I didn't realise. I knew there was something though, right, Andrew? Right, between me and you, right? There was
between you, me, Caroline, and the entire audience of this podcast.
Well, we'll just whisper and she'll know hear us, right? But
I'll get the subtitles.
And I look back. I now look back and think, that was pretty shit for Caroline, because no, she didn't have anyone supporting her then. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, but it got better, to be fair. Just to let you understand, the reason we've ended up with a support group was because, as Jacqui said, she came down to see us, and lo and behold, we're sitting in the kitchen, and you know what it's like when you have a couple of gins, Andrew.
Not gin, but I do know what the general gist.
Yes. So we were sitting having a chat, and what we were saying was, we noticed over time when we were chatting to each other, we noticed that the support was doing really well for her and I. Like, if I had a bad day, I could phone her, she had a bad day, or we would meet for coffee, or we would just chat, you know, once we were having different problems with the menopause. And this is where we have ended up now, as I said, was because we did the Facebook because COVID kicked in, because we were doing face-to-face support groups. And we had to stop doing that with COVID, obviously. So we decided, I don't know, before Christmas, Jacqui, we thought we'll maybe have a go at the podcast and see how we got on with that. Right, she's fell asleep,
and it's
Andrew.
Just about what? No. I think it's about just getting the word out there, Andrew, and like, and because women don't know what the symptoms are, right? They don't. They're not aware of it, right? And they come into the group, when we have the support groups. So we're doing it the last Monday every month in Braehead Shopping Centre, upstairs in the marketing suite. And women will come in, you can see it on their face, the worry and all that. And then see, by the time they talk to us, and we're like, you're fine, we've got that, we've got this, and they go, oh, right, okay, it's not just me. So I think, because it affects the whole family, that's the issue, is it affects the whole family. My family, where I could see the terror in their faces because I wasn't coping, and because I wasn't coping, I was always the one that everybody came to and things like that. So without Caroline, I don't know where I would be today. So we then just thought, well, if we can talk to each other and it helps us, let's move forward and start speaking to everybody and just have a cup of tea, sit and have a blather, have a good laugh about it, Andrew, because as hard as it is, you need to be able to laugh at it as well.
No, definitely. And it's one of the reasons why I do the podcast, because you need to, as much as it is serious, sometimes people need to know you can make a joke about it. It breaks attention. It's all tense subjects. So what are the symptoms because obviously a lot of women don't know about it. Guys don't have a fucking clue. We just think, oh God, we're gonna die. So what are the kind of, what would you say were the kind of the main symptoms to watch out for, like the early warning signs, so to speak?
Well, for me, I would say on my side, it would be your mood swings can be quite erratic. You know, 1 minute your wife or your partner could be laughing, she could be crying, she could be quiet. I would say that's one of them. Jacqui, would you like to say one or two?
For me, it's the anxiety and the brain fog. The brain fog is a killer, Andrew, and I still have that. Like, I can't, but in saying that, you want to come to a support group, because it's very common, the brain fog, and everybody forgets what they're saying. And there's a wee bit in our podcast number 2 where I totally forget. I totally can't. But me and Caroline are good. We jump in on each other, and then so you've got that. You've got the low mood swings. You've got the fatigue. How not being able to do stuff. Hot sweats, if the hot flushes, if you have them.
And heart palpitations can be another one, Andrew, that's just quite scary. A lot of women suffer from that at the beginning as well. Their heartbeat, they can hear it more, and they start to hear it, listen to it more, and it kind of gets you going into a kind of panic attack. But to be fair, if these things do happen to you, you should really go and get it checked, especially when it's your heart, because a lot of the times it might not be, but it is one of the big main symptoms of the menopause.
Yeah. After hearing all that, I was always very pro. I'm basically I'm a feminist. So hearing all the stuff that you go through, not only when you're going through puberty, but then all the stuff to do with childbirth, and then for a long time rearing the kids on your own, and while trying to carve out an independence for yourself, and that menopause you go through afterwards. You ladies are fucking legends. My God.
And
the best part is the best part is you can get kicked in the lower regions and it doesn't hurt as much as it does to a guy. A guy so much as gets like this, like a wee kind of flick. We're down like someone has shot us like JFK. It's unreal. Like, women can take a skiing boot and they're just like, right, what's for dinner? What?
Let's move on.
Where's the shot put? Right, there we go. What? Massive respect. What? Massive respect. Oh my God. What?
Thank you.
One thing I've got to ask, why do they call it like perimenopause and not premenopause? Perimenopause just sounds like a really, really bad Nando's dish.
I love that. That's so good.
Well, think about it.
It's like that's a great dish.
It's true. Everything has like a pre and a post. Like, why does menopause have a peri?
I don't know.
I think it's peri because
he's army chicken. What?
I think sometimes with what we go through, I think I'd rather be a chicken, to be honest with you.
I know.
No, not at all. Have you seen the size of an egg and you see the size of a chicken's bum? Oof. Well, yeah.
To be honest with you, I have no idea why they call it perimenopause. It's just the way of medical medical world has actually said that, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I think Nando's have got a lawsuit going right there. There we go. Well, I want you to reclaim your pre-menopause, not this peri rubbish. Like, take your power.
That's actually a good point. I know.
Yeah, it's actually aye. Need to ask that question the next time you have a group.
That is my one intelligent thought for the year.
That would have been a medical person that come up with that, Andrew, because I don't know about you, but all these medical terms are just hopeless. Do you know what I mean? And that'll be why is that? It'll be peri first. It'll be a medical term instead of
it'll be like
it'll
be like a Latin terminology or a Greek terminology or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like I worked for the NHS for 8 years, and as much as what we can use them, my God, they could be a fucking shambles sometimes. Well, and I guarantee you, a man came up with that diagnosis because that's the most stupid diagnosis name I could possibly think of. A man must have came up with it.
Well, I'm glad you said that, not us.
Hey, it's the advantage of being self-deprecating. You can get away with most things. So how did once your family kind of understood what did you tell them that that you were going through like menopause? Like, I mean, because my mum's just turned 60. Happy birthday, mum! Love you. And I'm pretty sure that she'll have been through it, but you never hear. No one speaks about it, and it's
no. Every woman goes through it, and every single woman goes through menopause. But whether you have the symptoms or not is the issue. Do you know what I mean? Right. And the problem is, a lot of them don't even realise that they are having the symptoms because. Let me give you a snapshot of say an average woman going through the menopause, a natural menopause. So they can be working full time, have a career, they can have their family, taking care of older parents, their family could have grandchildren, and then you get hit with the menopause and you wonder why women are not coping with it. Do you know? So that's why some women can sail through it, and some women don't. Do you know what I mean? So,
do any workplaces have like a special leave for if you're going through menopause? Because again, it's not something that as a guy I would know, and not something that's really commonplace. And if there's not, I really think there should be.
Well, that's what we're trying to do now, aren't we, Jacqui? This is the thing just now. We've noticed now since we have come in to do the support groups and our own research now that this is a big, the government and all that now are trying to push for things like that. So we are now trying to get, not so much Jacqui and I, but there is people out there now, to be fair. All the 4 governments have got together now, basically, and they have a menopause group, as in people up the stairs are talking about it, yakking about it, but the action I don't think is moving fast enough for us personally as women where the menopause is concerned. But yeah, they are trying to do that, Andrew. It's like everything else, it's got to take time.
Yeah. It was like when my boys were born, they were born 10 weeks premature. They spent 6 weeks in the hospital, and I really wanted to be with them. I wanted to make sure I had time with them because I'm their dad. And nowadays especially, dads want to be more hands-on, and I was no different. I wanted to be there. And I only got 2 weeks paternity leave, and and it was knackering for me because it's not like I wasn't leaving Alison to look after twin boys during the night because I've got work tomorrow. I'm up doing my bit. I'm up helping. We had a baby lane each, but we assigned one each. We're like, okay, right, Kieran doesn't react to me as he does to you, Alison, so we can get sleep quicker. Let's do this. Let's get a plan. So I'm up most of the night with the boys, and then I'm still going and working a full-time job, and then come back, repeat cycle for at least 18 months, and I was done in, and I only got 2 weeks paternity leave. And it was so much so that when they did like a kind of survey in my work at the time, I took time out of my day to go to it, and they were like, it's very rare that we see a man here. And I'm like, do you wonder why that is?
Yeah, that's a fair point, Andrew. I think, to be honest with you, the world is changing so much now, isn't it? We are getting reverse roles as well now. So we all should be treated equally when it comes to things, especially to do with your family. Men, the father should be involved in this. I don't know how you change that, because I do feel we're still but I still feel sometimes we're still back in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's the same deal. Like
in the workplace, in the work.
No, yeah, carry on, Jacqui.
Sorry.
No, carry on. It means I get. No,
and I was just going. The workplace is definitely getting better, and it depends, like everything else, is whether you have a good manager or not. Because the reason women up to now have had menopausal symptoms, no doubt about that whatsoever, but they were never encouraged. It was a shameful thing. You were ashamed to say about menopause. Whereas now I'm like, if I forget stuff all the time, I'm like, and work, sorry, I forgot brain fog, that's my menopausal brain fog. Now I'm not frightened to talk about it.
Yeah.
And there are, my employer's great, my employer's amazing, right? But I think there's a lot more talk than there is action. Now, we've got a menopause policy. It's the in thing to have just now, right? But in fact, I had a recruitment agency wanting to come on the group, didn't I, Caroline? Yeah. And they were wanting to come on the group to help women who'd left their work through menopause, which is very common. And I said, and I was really interested in that because that's what we did in the college. And I says, there's the answer to this question will determine whether you're going to, I'm going to let you on or not. And they were going to take the women, put them through training, CV, get them in job interviews. And I said, are you going to put them back into a place that's not got a menopause policy? And they're like, well, no, they just need to go out and work. And I says, no, they've left because there wasn't a menopause policy, and you're going to put them back, you're going to try and put them back in. So they never get on. No, I was like, that's a no-brainer. They were just jumping on the bandwagon of menopause, and that's a frustrating thing out there everywhere. And
it's something very in common with mental health as well. They have all these mental health policies, their support systems and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of the attitudes are still very backwards. Like I tried setting up a mental health support group in my work, then COVID hit, but instead of me trying to keep it going, they shut it down, and it's never been reactivated no matter how much I pushed for it. And I was like, well, why? Because I'm the perfect candidate. I'm totally, pardon my French, I'm totally fucked. Well, if there's anybody that who's qualified to lead a mental health support group, it is me. I'm dumb. Well, and they were like, no, we have funding for that. We got this, we got that. And I'm like, bollocks, just bollocks. You're just wanting to fall off.
I think
and
attitude.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jacqui, on you go.
No, I'm just going to say COVID is definitely, I mean, we've seen it in our group as well, it's been through the roof, the mental health side of it, Andrew,
Yeah.
Yep. That's where, do you not think really, to be honest, Andrew, as well, that see, since we've done COVID, do you not think all these things now are starting to show up quite quickly, and see people like Jacqui and I as well, and like yourself, to be fair, you've started to notice these things more to do with our mental health and our well-being, and how bad, to be honest with you, it is, because we've just all went onto this like a train, and we've just rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled in life, and we've maybe jumped off now and again, did a wee thing here, a wee thing there. But I think COVID has opened people's eyes towards our health and our well-being, which I think is a fantastic thing in one way for COVID, because I think it has made people realise that our system isn't as good as what it's made out to be.
Definitely. One thing that made me realise that I was like, life is too short for me to be doing a job which I quite frankly don't like. I like people, and they know that, because I told them, I was like, I want to be out of there by the time I'm 40. I've got 5 years to get all this type of stuff that I'm doing, get it off the ground and making money out of it, so I can manage myself and ultimately have more time with my kids. Because I hate having to go to work and leave them. I hate not being around them. It's horrible for me. And the fact that I have to keep falling into this 9-to-5 role, which is something I've never been built for. It's a means to an end. And that's just and it's the quote unquote, it's the man's job to be the provider. And I'm like, that's not the way like my world works in particular.
That's not the way the real world works now. It's changed so much now that it's reverse roles, and it's not a bad thing, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. If your partner's earning more money than you, and it's easier for you to be at home and your wife's out working, or your whatever the partner is, I don't think that should be shamed. I think that's a great idea, because if it works for you, and to be fair, I think from your point of view, from being a dad, I think that's a fantastic opportunity for you to have those times with your kids, because we all know our kids grow up so quickly. And one minute they're toddlers, the next minute they're teenagers, and then the next minute they're adults and they're out doing their own thing.
Yeah, you can't get that time back.
You can't, and that's the thing. No.
And that's one of the things recently I dropped a video about I went through domestic abuse in a previous relationship. It was quite, and it's one of the things that I'd felt was a stereotype, was that that apparently men didn't get abused, and I was like, well, that's bollocks, because it happened to me. And I went through it. And a lot of people got back to me, and again, to everybody that's left me comments, thank you very much for all the support. But they were all shocked. They were like, we didn't realize that that happened to you. And I'm like, yeah, I tried to come out about it 10 years ago, and I got laughed at and made to feel like ashamed, like I liked being abused because I was a man. I'm like, what the fuck does that got to do with it? And it's always something I've tried to drive home. I'm not a quote unquote typical man. I am shit at building IKEA furniture. I am crap at football. I cannot play sports to save myself. It's like I would rather give my boys a dollhouse than a football, because I'm better at that type of stuff and creating. But that's not the typical guy thing. And I'm like, it's just something that's always irked me a little bit.
The thing is, there shouldn't be a typical guy thing anymore now.
No,
just like past century, do you know what I mean? Yeah. 2022.
I know, it's like there shouldn't be a typical guy thing, just like there shouldn't be like that's a woman's job. No, like everybody should be equal across the board as far as I'm concerned. That's why
what do you want to do? Would you like to take on our menopause then, please?
I would do that. Gingers are naturally warm. We're okay with that. We're always warm. I would gladly be able to. I call them brain farts, but I have them on a regular basis. I say that's just being a dad. So I just go with that. Anxiety. I'm already on the highest dose of sertraline. What's any more anxiety going to do to me? It's like I'm pretty mental. It's like, and I said that to Alison, it's like any pain. When she was pregnant, I was like, I would rather feel your pain So I don't need to hear you fucking harping on about it. I'm only joking. Well, I thought the end bit. I never said the end bit because I wasn't stupid.
No, you're wise there. Yeah. God love you.
Well, we are starting to come up on time because I'm not going to give Zoom any money. Sorry, this is a freebie. But
Right.
I think you've pretty much answered the question that I'm going to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. If either of you could give one piece of advice to anybody struggling with mental health issues at this point in time, what would that piece of advice be and why? And because you've been such lovely guests, I'm going to get you to try and answer it from the menopause side aspect of it, because as we've touched on, it can have an impact on your mental health.
Talk to each other. Find a support group and talk about it, and don't be frightened. Keep a diary. See, when you keep a diary and then look back on it, you'll see patterns. And try and do a bit of research so that you're going to tell your doctor what's wrong with you, not ask. Go armed with information, and just hopefully you'll have a good doctor that will help you.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant advice. And what about yourself, Caroline?
Yeah, more or less the same, Andrew, to be honest. You know, the old saying is it's always good to talk, but when it comes to the menopause, yes, it is quite hard if you're with, you know, you've got friends that are not going through it yet. But as Jacqui said, you can phone anyone, to be honest with you, if you know somebody that you're feeling bad. Because the night that I had a really hard time, I had to phone one of my friends like yourself. I wouldn't have been here. That's how bad the menopause was for me. So I phoned one of my friends that night, and I think if someone just listens to you, they don't need to answer you. If they just listen to you, to me that's a big help.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you both. It's been a real education for me, and what I will be contacting on a regular basis is to get updates on those symptoms for when Alison starts to go through certain things, so I know whether I'm just whether I can go to my bed or I have to buy a separate flat.
Well, I quite agree with you there, but thank you very much for asking us on, Andrew.
Yes, Andrew, thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. So we've still got a little bit of time. We've got 1 minute and 40 seconds. So drop your podcast again and where they can find it and your support group.
So the support group is Menopause Warriors on Facebook, Menopause Warriors Scotland. We meet the last Monday every month in Braehead Shopping Centre, and we have the podcast on Sunny G103 on Mixcloud. There's 2 episodes there just now. The
Gmail address?
menopause19@gmail.com, and we've just had a Twitter account of Menno at Scott Warriors. Oh goodness, I don't know what it is, Andrew, sorry.
It's the brain fog, it's the brain fog.
IT's not my forte. Jackie's good at that. I'm not.
What I do is send me the links through our wee kind of WhatsApp chat, and then I'll update it into the links in the description below it.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
Until next time, everybody, take care, stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye now.